The stars looked peaceful through the bridge window of the U.S. Pioneer. Captain Jake Morrison stood with his coffee cup in hand, watching the distant sun of the Kepler 442 system grow larger as his ship moved closer. The exploration vessel had been traveling for 2 weeks now, carrying a crew of 12 people on what should have been a simple survey mission. Jake was a tall man with gray hair starting to show at his temples. He had been commanding ships for 15 years, and the Pioneer was his favorite. She was not the biggest or fastest ship in the fleet, but she was reliable. The crew trusted her, and more importantly, they trusted each other. The bridge was quiet, except for the soft hum of the ship's engines. Lieutenant Amy Patterson sat at the communications console, monitoring the usual space traffic. She was young, maybe 25, with short brown hair and quick fingers that danced across her controls. Amy had joined the crew just 6 months ago, but she had already proven herself valuable. Chief Engineer Ryan Davis was checking the power readings on his station. Ryan was a stocky man who always seemed to have grease under his fingernails. He knew every pipe and wire on the Pioneer better than anyone else. When something broke, Ryan could fix it. When nothing was broken, he would find something to improve. Dr. Lisa Wright was reviewing the mission files in her medical bay. The doctor was a calm woman who never seemed to panic, even in the worst situations. Her medical bay was small but well equipped. She hoped she would not need to use most of her equipment on this trip. The mission was supposed to be routine. Survey the Kepler 442 system, check on the mining colony, collect some samples, and head home. The colony had been established 3 years ago on the second planet. It was a small operation, with about 3,000 people mining rare minerals for Earth. Jake finished his coffee and was about to return to his quarters when Amy suddenly sat up straight. Her console was flashing with an incoming signal. "Captain, I'm getting a distress call," Amy said, her voice tight with concern. Jake moved quickly to her station. "Put it through." The speakers crackled with static. Then a man's voice came through, broken and desperate. "This is Administrator Pete Collins on Kepler 442b. We need immediate assistance. Hostile forces have surrounded our colony. Repeat, we are under attack." The transmission cut to static for a moment. Then Pete's voice returned. "They came out of nowhere. 6 ships, maybe more. They're big, and they don't look human. We've taken shelter in the mining tunnels, but I don't know how long we can hold out." Jake felt his stomach drop. The mining colony had minimal defenses. They were not prepared for a military attack. The signal cleared up for a moment, and Pete's voice became clearer. "They're calling themselves the Veltar Dominion. They want us to surrender. They're giving us 18 hours before they start bombing the tunnels. We have families down here, Captain. Kids, please, if anyone can hear this, we need help." The transmission ended with a burst of static. Amy tried to re-establish contact, but there was nothing. Jake stared at the console, his mind racing. The Veltar Dominion was known to Earth Command. They were a military empire that enslaved weaker species. If they had found the colony, those 3,000 people were in serious trouble. "Amy, get me Admiral Kate Sullivan on the Hughes Valiant, emergency priority." Amy's fingers flew across her console. After a few minutes, she shook her head. "The Valiant is 3 days away at maximum speed, Captain. Even if they left right now, they wouldn't make it in time." Jake cursed under his breath. The Valiant was the nearest military vessel, a massive battleship with enough firepower to handle 6 alien cruisers. But 3 days might as well be 3 years if the colonists only had 18 hours. Ryan looked up from his station. "Captain, the Pioneer has mining lasers and basic shields. We're not built for combat." "I know what we're built for," Jake said quietly. He thought about Pete Collins' voice, the desperation when he mentioned the children. 3,000 people were depending on someone to help them. Dr. Wright appeared on the bridge. having heard the distress call over the ship's communication system. "Captain, what are our options?" Jake looked at his crew. They were good people, all of them. They had signed up for exploration, not war. He had no right to ask them to risk their lives against impossible odds. "We're the only ship close enough to help," Jake said finally. "The Valiant won't arrive for 3 days. Those people will be dead or enslaved by then." Amy spoke up from her station. "Captain, I've been analyzing the signal. The colony is still transmitting on emergency frequencies. They're alive, but barely." Ryan stepped forward. "Sir, I can modify our mining equipment. Won't be much against military-grade weapons, but it's something." Dr. Wright nodded. "My medical bay is ready for casualties. Whatever we're going to do, I'm with you." Jake looked at each of them in turn. These people were willing to follow him into a battle they probably could not win. The thought both humbled and terrified him. "All right," Jake said, his voice steady despite the fear in his chest. "We're going to attempt a rescue operation. I won't lie to you, our chances are not good. But those people need help, and we're the only ones who can provide it." He turned to Amy. "Send a message to the Valiant. Tell them what we're doing and ask them to hurry. Then try to contact the colony again. We need to know their exact situation." Jake moved to his captain's chair and activated the ship-wide communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. We've received a distress call from the mining colony. We're going to help them. I know this isn't what we signed up for, but sometimes we have to do what's right, not what's safe. Prepare for emergency operations." The Pioneer changed course toward Kepler 442b, its small crew preparing for the fight of their lives. The Pioneer dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system with a flash of blue light. Captain Jake Morrison gripped his chair as the ship shuddered from the sudden change in speed. Through the main screen, he could see the yellow star and its planets in the distance. "Sensors are online, Captain," said Lieutenant Amy Patterson from her station. "I'm detecting multiple contacts around the second planet." Jake leaned forward. "Show me." The main screen changed to display a tactical view of the planet. 6 large ships hung in orbit like predators circling their prey. The alien vessels were dark and angular, nothing like the smooth curves of human ships. Red markers showed where they had been firing at the planet's surface. "Those are Veltar heavy cruisers," Ryan Davis said, studying the readings. "Each one is 3 times bigger than us." Amy worked at her console, trying to cut through the interference. "Captain, I'm getting a signal from the planet. It's weak, but it's there. Put it through." The speakers crackled, and a woman's voice came through the static. "This is Dr. Helen Rogers in the emergency shelter." "Who is this?" "Dr. Rogers, this is Captain Morrison of the U.E.'s Pioneer. We received your distress call. What's your situation?" There was a pause, then Helen's voice returned, filled with relief. "Thank God. We thought no one was coming. We have about 2,800 people in the mining tunnels. The life support is failing, and we estimate 6 hours of air left." Jake felt his heart sink. 6 hours was not much time. "What about the Veltar? Are they making any demands?" "They stopped bombing an hour ago. Their leader contacted us directly. He calls himself War Commander Zektar. He wants us to surrender and become slaves. He said he would give us until dawn to decide." Jake looked at the time display. Dawn on Kepler 442b was in 4 hours. "Dr. Rogers, we're going to get you out of there. Can you tell me about the tunnel system?" "The main entrance is on the northern continent. We have emergency exits, but they're too small for large groups. The tunnels go deep, about 2 kilometers underground. We've sealed most of the entrances, but the Veltar have been using some kind of drilling equipment." Amy suddenly looked up from her station, Captain, we have a problem. Two of the alien ships are moving toward us. Jake turned to the tactical display. Two of the Veltar cruisers had broken formation and were heading in their direction. At their current speed, they would reach the Pioneer in 20 minutes. Ryan, what can we do with our mining equipment? The chief engineer rubbed his beard. I've been thinking about that. Our main mining laser can cut through asteroid rock pretty easily. It might damage their shields if we get close enough. The smaller cutting beams could work too, but we'd need to be right on top of them. What about our shuttles? Doctor. Lisa Wright spoke up from her medical station. We have 3 shuttles. Each can carry about 30 people. But they're not armed. Security Chief Tom Bradley had been quiet until now. He was a former military man who had joined the Pioneer's crew for the peaceful exploration missions. Captain, I have an idea. We can load the shuttles with mining explosives. If we can get them close to the alien ships, we might be able to damage their weapons. Jake nodded. Do it. Amy, keep trying to contact the colony. I need to know exactly where everyone is located. The crew scattered to their tasks. Ryan headed to the engineering section to work on the mining equipment. Tom went to the cargo bay to prepare the explosives. Amy continued working on communications while trying to track the approaching alien ships. Dr. Wright prepared her medical bay for the worst. She had treated mining accidents and equipment failures, but never battle wounds. She hoped her supplies would be enough. Jake stood in the center of the bridge, watching his crew work. These people had families back on Earth. They had joined the Pioneer for adventure and discovery, not to fight aliens in a hopeless battle. But none of them hesitated when he asked for their help. Captain, Amy called out. I have Dr. Rogers again. Put her through. Captain Morrison, the situation is getting worse. The Veltar have started drilling again. They're trying to break through our strongest barriers. We can hear them getting closer. Hold tight, Doctor. We're coming for you. Sir, I need to tell you something. We have a lot of children down here. Families who came to work the mines. If something happens to us, please make sure people know we tried to protect them. Jake's jaw tightened. Nothing is going to happen to you. We're going to get everyone out. The bridge alarm started sounding. Amy checked her sensors. Captain, the 2 Veltar ships will be in weapons range in 10 minutes. Jake activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the captain. We are about to engage hostile forces. Remember, we're not fighting for glory or territory. We're fighting to save the lives of 3,000 innocent people. Every second we can buy them might be the difference between life and death. He turned to his crew. Ryan, are the mining lasers ready? Ready, Captain. I've boosted the power output by 30%. We'll only get a few shots before the system overloads. Tom, how are those shuttles? Loaded with enough explosives to crack an asteroid. The pilots are ready. Jake looked at the approaching enemy ships on the screen. They were massive, built for war. The Pioneer was a small exploration vessel with mining equipment and a crew of 12 brave people. Amy, send a message to Admiral Sullivan. Tell her we're engaging the enemy. If we don't make it, make sure she knows what happened here. Message sent, Captain. Jake sat down in his command chair. All right, people. Let's show these aliens what humans do when someone threatens innocent lives. The Pioneer turned toward the approaching Veltar cruisers, its small crew ready to face impossible odds to save people they had never met. The first Veltar cruiser opened fire when the Pioneer was still 5 kilometers away. Bright green energy beams cut through space, missing the human ship by less than 100 meters. Captain Jake Morrison felt the heat from the near miss through. The bridge windows. Evasive maneuvers, Jake ordered. Take us into the asteroid field. The Pioneer dove toward a cluster of floating rocks, using them as cover. The ship shook as smaller pieces of debris bounced off the hull. Ryan Davis worked frantically at his engineering station, trying to keep the shields stable. "Captain, we're taking damage to the outer hull," Ryan reported. "Nothing serious yet, but those energy beams pack a punch." Amy Patterson tracked the enemy ships on her sensors. "Both cruisers are following us into the asteroids. They're being more careful now. Probably don't want to damage their own ships." Jake saw his chance. The Veltar ships were larger and less maneuverable than the Pioneer. Among the asteroids, size was a disadvantage. "Ryan, are the mining lasers ready?" "Ready, sir." "But remember, we only get a few shots before the power system burns out." Jake nodded. "Make them count. Take us around that big asteroid. When we come out the other side, I want you to hit the lead ship with everything we have." The Pioneer swung around a massive rock, coming face to face with the first Veltar cruiser. The alien ship was dark gray, with sharp edges and weapon ports glowing with green energy. "Fire!" Jake commanded. The Pioneer's main mining laser struck the cruiser's forward shields. The beam, designed to cut through solid rock, burned bright orange against the alien energy barrier. Sparks flew from the enemy ship's shield generators. "Direct hit," Amy called out. "Their forward shields are down to 60%. But the Veltar ship returned fire immediately. Green energy beams hammered the Pioneer's shields. The small human ship shook violently, and lights flickered across the bridge. "Shields down to 40%, Ryan shouted over the noise. "We can't take many more hits like that." Jake spun the ship around another asteroid, trying to break the enemy's target lock. The second Veltar cruiser appeared on their starboard side, firing at close range. The Pioneer shields flared and failed. "Shields are down," Ryan reported. "Next hit goes straight through the hull." On the planet below, the situation was getting worse. Dr. Helen Rogers crouched in the emergency shelter, listening to the sound of Veltar drilling equipment getting closer. The aliens had broken through the outer barriers and were now working on the main tunnel entrance. "How much longer?" asked Ben Taylor, the colony's security director. He was a big man with military experience, but he knew they could not fight. The Veltar with mining tools and determination alone. "Maybe an hour before they break through," Helen replied. "The air recyclers are failing, too. We might run out of oxygen before they reach us." Carol Adams, a former Marine who worked as an equipment operator, checked her makeshift weapon. "We'll make them pay for every meter of tunnel." Above ground, the battle continued. Jake used every trick he knew, diving between asteroids and using the Pioneer's smaller size to stay ahead of the enemy guns. But the Veltar were learning his patterns. "Captain, I have an idea," Tom Bradley said over the communication system from the shuttle bay. "If you can get us close to one of those ships, we can ram them with the explosive-loaded shuttles." Jake hesitated. The shuttles were suicide missions. Whoever piloted them would not be coming back. "I'll take the first shuttle," Tom continued. "Sam Brooks and Julie Martinez have volunteered for the other two." Sam Brooks was the ship's navigator, a quiet man who rarely spoke unless spoken to. Julie Martinez worked in systems analysis and had a young daughter back on Earth. These people are ready to give their lives to save strangers. "Negative," Jake said firmly. "We'll find another way." But the Veltar were closing in. Both cruisers had the Pioneer trapped between two large asteroids. There was nowhere left to run. "Captain," Amy said urgently, "I'm getting multiple contacts from the planet. The other 4 Veltar ships are moving to attack positions. They're going to start bombing the tunnel entrances." Jake felt desperation creep into his chest. Even if they could somehow defeat the 2 ships chasing them, there were still 4 more ready to kill the colonists. "Sir," Ryan called out, "I'm reading massive power buildup from both enemy ships. They're charging their main weapons." Jake realized the Veltar had stopped playing games. They were going to destroy the Pioneer with their next attack. "All hands, brace for impact," Jake announced. The two Veltar cruisers fired simultaneously. Streams of green energy converged on the Pioneer's position. Jake closed his eyes, expecting to feel the ship tear apart around him. Instead, he heard Amy gasp in surprise. "Captain, look at the main screen." Jake opened his eyes. A massive shape had appeared between the Pioneer and the enemy fire. The green energy beams struck heavy armor plating and scattered harmlessly into space. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Morrison. Identify yourself." A strong female voice answered over the communication system. "Pioneer, this is Admiral Kate Sullivan aboard the Hughes Valiant. Sorry, we're late to the party." Jake stared at the main screen in amazement. The Valiant was enormous, easily 10 times the size of the Pioneer. The battleship's weapons ports were already glowing with charged energy. "Admiral, how did you get here so fast?" "We pushed the engines past their safety limits. Figured you might need some help." The Valiant's main guns opened fire. Particle beams, far more powerful than anything the Pioneer carried, struck the Veltar. Cruisers, the alien ship's shields collapsed instantly. "All Veltar vessels, this is Admiral Sullivan of the United Earth Space Command. You are ordered to withdraw immediately or face destruction." The lead Veltar ship transmitted a response. "Human Admiral, you cannot defeat the might of the Dominion. We are 6 ships. You are only 1. Admiral Sullivan's reply was calm and confident. "You're right. This isn't a fair fight. You're outnumbered." The Hughes Valiant moved like a giant predator through space. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood on the bridge of the massive battleship, watching the tactical display show 6 Veltar cruisers spread around the planet. Her gray eyes were cold and focused. "Commander, Turner, target the 2 ships engaging the Pioneer first." She ordered. Commander Alex Turner worked at the weapons console. He was young for his rank, but he had earned his position through skill and dedication. Particle cannons locked on target. "Admiral, fire." The Valiant's main guns spoke with the voice of thunder. Bright blue beams of energy crossed the void in an instant, striking the Veltar cruisers before they could react. The alien ship's shields collapsed like soap bubbles, and secondary explosions rippled across their hulls. One cruiser lost power completely and began drifting. The other tried to turn away, but the Valiant's targeting system tracked every movement. A second volley of particle beams tore through the Veltar ship's engines, leaving it crippled and helpless. 2 targets neutralized, Turner reported. "The other 4 ships are moving to attack formation." Admiral Sullivan nodded. She had fought the Veltar before during the border conflicts. They were brutal but predictable. They relied on overwhelming force and intimidation rather than tactics. "Signal the Pioneer," she said. "Tell Captain Morrison to get his people to the planet. We'll handle the remaining ships." On the Pioneer's bridge, Jake Morrison felt relief wash over him. The small exploration ship had taken heavy damage, but they were still alive. "You heard the Admiral," Jake told his crew. "Amy, contact the colony. Tell them rescue is on the way. Tom, get those shuttles ready for evacuation runs." The remaining 4 Veltar cruisers moved to surround the Valiant. They had spread out, trying to attack from multiple directions at once. It was a classic Dominion tactic, but Admiral Sullivan had seen it many times before. "They're trying to overwhelm our point defense systems," she told Turner. "Switch to wide beam dispersal. Let's show them what human engineering can do." The Valiant's weapon systems were far more advanced than anything the Veltar had encountered. The battleship carried adaptive shield generators that could change frequency to match incoming fire. Its point defense turrets used artificial intelligence to predict enemy movements and intercept missiles before they could reach their target. The 4 Veltar ships opened fire together. Dozens of green energy beams and plasma missiles streaked toward the human battleship. The Valiant's shields flared as they absorbed the incoming fire, but they held steady. Shields at 87%, Turner reported. Their weapons are not penetrating our defenses. Admiral Sullivan smiled grimly. Return fire. Target their weapon systems first. I want them disabled, not destroyed. We need prisoners for intelligence. The Valiant's response was swift and precise. Particle beams lanced out with surgical accuracy, striking the weapon ports on the Veltar ships. One by one, the alien guns went silent as their power systems overloaded. On the planet below, the evacuation was beginning. The Pioneer's 3 shuttles had reached the surface and were loading colonists as fast as possible. Tom Bradley coordinated the rescue operation from the main tunnel entrance. Families with children first, he called out to the crowd of miners. And scientists. Stay calm and move quickly. Dr. Helen Rogers helped organize the evacuees. She carried a young girl who had been separated from her parents in the confusion. The child was scared, but trying to be brave. Is the scary ship going to hurt us? The girl asked. Helen looked up at the sky, where flashes of light marked the space battle above. No, sweetheart. The good guys are winning. Ben, Taylor, and Carol. Adams led the colony's defense team in securing the perimeter. The Veltar ground forces had retreated when their ships lost the battle, but they wanted to make sure no aliens were left behind to threaten the evacuees. In space, the battle was turning into a rout. The Valiant had disabled 3 of the 4 remaining Veltar cruisers. The last enemy ship tried to run, but the human battleship was faster. Target their engines, Admiral Sullivan ordered. I want that ship intact. The final Veltar cruiser lost power and drifted helplessly. Admiral Sullivan opened a communication channel to all the disabled alien ships. Veltar vessels, this is Admiral Sullivan. Your ships are disabled, and your ground forces have surrendered. By the laws of war, I am offering you the chance to surrender with honor. There was a long pause before the Veltar commander responded. His voice was filled with hatred and disbelief. Human Admiral, this is War Commander Zektar. How is this possible? Your single ship has defeated our entire battle group. Commander Zektar, you made a mistake. You attacked innocent people under the protection of the United Earth Space Command. We take that very seriously. The Dominion will not forget this defeat. More ships will come. Admiral Sullivan's voice remained calm and professional. Let them come. We'll be ready. The evacuation continued for several hours. All 2,800 colonists were safely transported to the Valiant and the Pioneer. The mining equipment was too valuable to abandon, so the human ship's cargo holds were loaded with as much as they could carry. Jake Morrison stood on the Pioneer's bridge, watching the rescue operation wind down. His ship had suffered significant damage, but his crew was alive and proud of what they had accomplished. Captain, Amy Patterson called from her station. Admiral Sullivan wants to speak with you. The Admiral's face appeared on the main screen. She looked tired but satisfied. Captain Morrison, excellent work. Your crew showed real courage out there. Thank you, Admiral. We couldn't have done it without the Valiant's arrival. You bought the time we needed to get here. That colony is alive because of your decision to help. Jake nodded. What happens now? Now we make sure the galaxy knows what happened here. The Veltar Dominion needs to understand that humanity will not tolerate attacks on innocent people. The human ships, prepared to leave the Kepler 442 system. The colonists would be relocated to safer worlds, and the mining operation would be rebuilt with proper military protection. As the fleet jumped to hyperspace, Admiral Sullivan made a note in her log. The battle would be remembered as the day humanity served notice to the galaxy that Earth's children would never abandon those in need. 3 weeks after the battle at Kepler 442, the rescued colonists were settling into their new homes on Proxima Station. The massive space station orbited a peaceful star system far from Veltar territory. Admiral Kate Sullivan walked through the residential sections, watching families rebuild their lives. She stopped at a playground where children laughed and played on swings and slides. It was hard to believe these same kids had been hiding in underground tunnels just weeks ago, breathing recycled air and listening to alien drilling equipment getting closer. Dr. Helen Rogers approached the Admiral, carrying a datapad filled with reports. Helen had been working with Earth Command to analyze everything they had learned about Veltar technology and tactics. "Admiral, the intelligence reports are ready," Helen said. "We've learned quite a bit from the captured ships." Admiral Sullivan nodded. "What did we find?" "Their technology is powerful, but not very advanced. They rely on brute force rather than precision. Their ships are heavily armed, but poorly shielded compared to our standards." They walked together toward the station's command center. Through the large windows, they could see the Hughes Valiant docked at the main port. The battleship was undergoing repairs and upgrades based on lessons learned from the battle. Chief Constructor Rob Mitchell and Systems Director Nancy Foster had been working around the clock to improve the ship's defenses. They had discovered that Veltar plasma weapons operated on a specific energy frequency that could be easily blocked with the right shield modifications. In another part of the station, the Pioneer was also being repaired. Captain Jake Morrison supervised the work while his crew enjoyed some well-deserved rest. The small exploration ship had suffered significant damage, but she would fly again. Ryan Davis had submitted several reports to Earth Command about modifications that could make exploration vessels more effective in combat situations. His ideas were already being implemented in new ship designs. Amy Patterson had been promoted to lieutenant commander for her communications work during the crisis. She was now training other officers in emergency contact procedures and long range signal management. Dr. Lisa Wright had opened a small clinic on the station to help colonists deal with the trauma of their experience. Many people were having nightmares about the attack, but they were gradually healing with proper care and support. Rescued colonists were not just sitting around feeling sorry for themselves. Pete Collins, the former colony administrator, was working with Earth Command to plan a return to Kepler 442. The mineral deposits were too valuable to abandon, and the colonists wanted to go back to the home they had built. Ben Taylor and Carol Adams were training a new security force that would protect the rebuilt colony. This time, it would be proper defenses and early warning systems. No alien force would catch them unprepared again. The political effects of the battle were spreading across the galaxy. News of humanity's victory had reached dozens of star systems. Species that had been bullied by the Veltar Dominion were beginning to hope that they might resist their oppressors. The Centauri Republic sent a formal message congratulating Earth on the victory. The Andorian Trade Union offered to share intelligence about Veltar movements in exchange for human military technology. Even the normally neutral Rigel Confederation expressed interest in forming defensive agreements. Admiral Sullivan received daily reports about Veltar reactions to their defeat. Several Dominion client species had stopped paying tribute. 3 border colonies had declared independence. The alien empire was facing internal problems for the first time in decades. Commander Zektar had been transferred to a prison facility on Earth. During his interrogation, he revealed important information about Veltar military structure and planned invasions. He seemed genuinely confused about how humans had defeated his forces so easily. "Your ships should not be so powerful," he told his interrogators. "You are a young species. You should be weak and easy to conquer." The interrogation reports showed that the Veltar had seriously underestimated human capabilities. They had expected to find primitive weapons and simple tactics. Instead, they faced advanced technology and coordinated military responses. Captain Morrison stood on the Pioneer's bridge, watching technicians install new communication equipment. His ship would soon return to exploration duties, but now she carried better weapons and stronger shields. Tom Bradley had been promoted to security commander and assigned to train other exploration crews in combat procedures. Sam Brooks and Julie Martinez were working on new navigation systems that could help ships escape from hostile encounters. The families from the mining colony were adapting well to their temporary homes. The Henderson family had opened a small restaurant serving food from their home world. The Garcia children were attending school with other station kids, making new friends and slowly forgetting their fears. Admiral Sullivan made her way to the station's communication center. She had an important message to send to Earth Command and all human colonies throughout the galaxy. This is Admiral Kate Sullivan, United Earth Space Command. 3 weeks ago, innocent civilians were attacked by hostile forces in the Kepler 442 system. Today, those families are safe and rebuilding their lives. She paused, thinking about everything that had happened. The rescue was successful because brave people chose to help when help was needed. Captain Morrison and the crew of the Pioneer risked their lives to buy time for rescue operations. Every person involved, from ship engineers to medical staff, played a part in saving 2,800 lives. Admiral Sullivan looked out at the stars through the communication center's windows. The message we sent to the galaxy is simple. Humanity protects those who cannot protect themselves. We answer distress calls. We stand up to bullies. When someone is in trouble and needs help, they can count on us. She thought about the phrase that had become popular among the rescued colonists and the station crew. Someone had painted it on the wall near the main docking bay. Sit tight, human battleship incoming. To anyone listening who might face similar threats, remember this. You are not alone. Earth's children are spread across the galaxy, and we watch out for each other. No matter how dark things might seem, help is coming. Admiral Sullivan ended the transmission and walked back toward the residential areas. Tomorrow, the Valiant would leave for patrol duties, ready to respond to the next crisis. The Pioneer would return to exploration, carrying the knowledge that sometimes the greatest discoveries come from helping others. The galaxy was a dangerous place, but it was a little bit safer knowing that humans were willing to fight for those who could not fight for themselves.